All right. So let's start off with today's session. Good evening, everyone. This is your host, Deepak Agrawal. And just to give a brief introduction about myself, I take care of the international admissions consulting at Career Launcher for all the top tier MBA programs in India and abroad. And over half a decade, I've been mentoring and training students for the top tier MBA, MIM, MS programs. Uh, and today I have a privilege of having Mr. Venkatesh Chaturvedi with me, who is an IIT and ISB alum. And we'll be hearing a lot of insights from Mr. Venkatesh about his journey of being at ISB and how exactly he cracked the code of getting into ISB and finally completed his MBA and how the journey is post MBA. So I welcome Mr. Venkatesh. Uh,
Thank you so much, Deepak. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure being here
all
today.
right. So I can see there are a lot of students joining in. So let's start off with session. So I'll request Venkatesh if you can please share your screen and walk us through a brief introduction about ISB and what kind of a school ISB is and what makes it the number one school in the country. All right. So if you can please share your screen and walk us.
So, just second, a lot of tabs open at my end. I'll just close them so that there's no distraction when I'm taking the session. Yeah, great. Awesome. So just sharing the screen. Just let me know as soon as you're able to. Um, Deepak, I think you have to enable sharing of the screen. Yeah, I can share now. Yes, is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Great.
If you can please make it full
Yeah.
screen. Yeah,
All
great.
right, all right. Thanks a lot, Deepak. And I see a lot of folks who have joined in. Yes, before we begin, just a few house rules, everyone. Please put yourself on mute if you haven't already. Otherwise it creates a lot of distraction during the session. And simultaneously, also, it will be great to see some of your bright young faces. So please switch on the video. It's always good to have an interactive session rather than me talking to my own self. Right. All right. Great, sir. So doesn't matter what your background is. You're at your home. It doesn't matter. It's fine, right? Don't have to bother about those things. But also, one of the first lessons that our previous batch taught us at ISB was that whenever we have a session during placement or otherwise at ISB, always have your screens and your video on so that it feels like an engaging session for any recruiter. So that is the first thing I like to also request from all of you who are aspiring to be in India's top B school. All right, let's begin, everyone. What is the vision of ISB? ISB, obviously, a lot of you have heard of, is India's top B school, is ranked globally. Uh, right, it was ranked 31 in the 2024 ranking. In the 2025 ranking, it has, I think, jumped to 27. Right. Regardless, it is in India's top one rank college, and in Asia in top five is what it has consistently come in. What makes it so? First of all, it is international standard college. It is research driven college and an independent institution, right? And therefore, it has global alliances with, say, founding colleges like Kellogg's, Wharton, and also has a lot of associate colleges, right, which you can see. And in also is one of those rare colleges which has a triple crown accreditation, right? So that's how kind of it is it's been able to sustain its ranking as well as the quality, right? That's why it has been, it's so much in demand, and as evident from the number of people who are joining today, as well as the number of people who eventually apply to ISB, right? What makes it so? One of the key things is the faculty, right? Because obviously the people who are teaching, right, determine the kind of pedagogy, determine the kind of quality of classes, classroom teaching, research, and so on and so forth, right? It has a portfolio of about 200 different faculties, and out of which we have resident faculty who are staying either in the Mohali campus or the Hyderabad campus and teaching there, or they could be visiting faculty who are coming in from NYU, Duke, NUS, Berkeley, Kellogg, Wharton, MIT, Sloan, and so on and so forth, right? The top B schools of the country. The teachers who are teaching there come and teach in ISB, right? And that's why one of the key things is the faculty itself. The second is the students, right? The quality of students, all of you, right, who are able to get a good, overall profile, which includes academics, includes extracurriculars, leadership abilities, so on and so forth. We'll see all of that very shortly, but they determine also the quality of students. One of the key things I say is faculty, facilities, all of those things are good, right, for any college to happen, and I'm not denying the fact, right? But what actually determines the quality of a college is the quality of the students first, and then all of the other things kind of make them kind of reach their best potential, right? So if there's a very robust, meritorious, selection process, that will make the quality of students very, very high and eventually lead to very good outcomes for the college. One of the key things there is life at ISB, which basically means that it's a very, very dynamic college. I consider 1 year of my time at ISB, 2021 to 2022, as a year of transformation. I would have participated so I play guitar, I sing, so participated in music club. I was part of the frisbee, learn frisbee, ultimate frisbee as a sport there. Have now been professionally playing, even after my graduation at the national level, right? I was part of the consulting club, the marketing club, trying to dabble on the professional front as well. And there are a lot of parties, club activities, and a very, very dynamic life at ISB that you get, apart from, of course, the academic side of things, right? There's a GSB, or the graduate student body, which is like the elected representatives are there. All of those things are part of the life at ISB. There's the social life and club activities, which I've already kind of covered. So that makes the complete experience of ISB very, very wholesome. It's not only academic, it's not only research, it is that, and beyond that, a lot of fun activities that you get to do. Now, one of the things I mentioned about is the two campuses. Therefore, one of the biggest question of people is, in fact, I'll tell you, one of my mentees from last year was very, very concerned when they got the Mohali campus. Right? Ki, अरे, ये तो शायद पता नहीं मैंने सुना नहीं है. I'm from Hyderabad. I don't know what Mohali, where Mohali is at the first place, and then haven't heard of the quality there. One of the key things to understand, and obviously the person eventually joined ISV. The idea essentially is there's no difference between the two campuses, barring the geographical and weather condition differences, so to say, right? So let me talk about how, right? Firstly, it follows that one school, two campus policy, which means that they work as a unit, even when the selection is happening, right? It's not like that there are, say, 800 people to be selected. The top 300 or 400 will go to one campus and the bottom will go to the other. That's not the case, right? There's a healthy mix of, of students from diverse backgrounds, from, diverse merit order, and so on and so forth. So typically, say, out of the top 10, 5 will go to Hyderabad, 5 will go to Mohali. So if we rank all students based on the, say, interview plus profile plus all of that, top 10 may say 5 will go to one campus, 5 will go to other campus, and that's how they follow. So it's a healthy mix. That is one. Second, there's no difference in placement. Placement happen together. In your degree, there's no mention of the campus you're coming from. The faculty are of similar quality. In fact, most of the faculty are same. Right? They teach one campus in one semester, go to the other campus to teach in a different semester. That's how they kind of conducted. And the difference which I would say is that Mohali campus is around 30-35 acres campus. Hyderabad is a 100-acre campus. That's one difference. Second, I would say is that Mohali campus has more extreme temperature because of the northern area. Hyderabad will have 2 months of extreme temperature. Otherwise, it's pretty much decent temperature. Barring these two things, I would say there's not much of difference. Mohali, in fact, has better facilities because it's a newer campus, right? So Those minor things are there. Otherwise, there's no tangible difference between the two, right? In fact, one of the major things that used to be a concern for people used to be that Mohali has lesser people, Hyderabad had more people, but that also been changed completely. Now both the campuses have 300 campus students. So all of that has changed since the PGP while has been brought in, and they have kind of equalized the number of students getting selected in both the campuses. So the cohort size is also not a difference, right? So that's about that one. In terms of career trajectory, how do people kind of transform? Let me talk about my own self. I basically, I think I don't know if so. I graduated from IIT Patna, right? That was my undergrad in electrical engineering, right? Was dabbling into the UPSC civil service examination domain. Had a gap year after my graduation, preparing for the same. Eventually wrote about 3 to 4 times the mains examination, but had started working at an academy at that point of time. So I was coming with 5 years of experience of UPSC preparation and 5 years of teaching for civil services examination. A very different kind of a domain, tech domain, online teaching, and all of that, right? Eventually made it to ISB through that, through the through a journey, and it was transformative. I got three different offers, had 25 different shortlists in my year, right? And the three different offers chose one of the startups to join. Got approached by the same firm, one of the firms where I had the offer from, Samagr, and that is where I've been since the last 3 years. So I'm working in a governance consulting firm in a marketing and strategy role. So that's how. Therefore, you are able to carve your trajectories. You could shift functions. You could shift roles. I came in as a educator, came out as a senior consultant now at Samagra, right? So that's what you are able to do. And the cohort also, you can see that industry shift is one and functional shift is also possible. So it's both can also happen, which means that you could be coming from a consulting, may go into marketing, could be coming from a product management, may go into consulting, and so on and so forth, right? And there is obviously industry shift, sorry, function shift. You could be a category manager going into product management, and so on and so forth, right? All of that, those things are possible. And the average CTC typically has been around 35 LPA, and therefore you get a very good ROI, right? You are able to pay back your loans at a decent pace also. All of that we'll also talk about very quickly after this. Top recruiters, typically around 300 companies registered in a academic year at ISB, and therefore 600, 700 students, 300 companies, ample amount of roles which are available for people to grab. Right now, coming to, I think one of the people have asked about the PGP YL program, right? What is this Young Leader program? So there are two major programs which are residential programs. Obviously, ISB has a lot of programs. ISB has two residential programs, the PGP 12-month program and the PGP Young Leader program, which is a 20-month program. Apart from that, there are a lot of executive programs, PGP Pro, PGP Max, PGP AM, PPP, all of those things are there. But those are typically, study from home, remote kind of a thing, be on campus for some days and stuff like that. These are the two campuses which provide both residential, that you're on campus, and it also provides placement support, right? That's why we are focusing on those two here. The 12-month program requires minimum 2 months of experience, right? The date at which you require typically is the 31st March of the year in which the admissions will happen. So, for example, the people who are applying for this year's cycle, right, would join ISB basically in April 2026, right? So, therefore, 31st March 2026, like you should have minimum 24 months of experience to be eligible to apply for the PGP 12-month program, and it only accepts GMAT and GRE scores, right? PGP YL, which is the 20-month program, is for people with 0 to 2 years of work experience, and here the cutoff is 15th June of the year. So, for example, 15th June of 2026. Till then, if you have 0 to 2 years of experience, you are eligible to apply for the PGP YL program. So these are the things. It also accepts CAT. So very important. PGP program accepts only GMAT and GRE. PGP YL program accepts GMAT, GRE, or CAT. Right. So yes, that's there. Folks, also what I would suggest is, yes, if you have any questions and queries, keep on putting it down in the comment. We'll be taking those questions in due course of time. Some of the questions, once I hand it over to Deepak, I'll also be able to answer on the chat itself. So you can don't hesitate in putting the questions in the chat whenever you have something, right? Cool. Now, in terms of the admissions program, let's first talk about the PGP YL program, right? Uh, just a second. Yeah. So, as I told, it's about 140 people are selected every year for the PGP YL batch. right? This is the first year. This year, 2025 is the first year when the batch is starting. So in July, the batch is going to start. There are two of the mentees I've kind of mentored last year who are set to join this batch as well. And what it requires is minimum bachelor degree, a valid GMAT, GRE or a CAT score, and work experience which is not more than 24 months as on 15th June of next year, essentially, right? And the selection process is very similar to the traditional PGP program. Two-stage process. First stage is you apply using test scores, essays, achievements, all those things you put in the application, and then the shortlisted people go for an interview round, right? And yeah, but the PGP program follows the similar process, but the main thing is it is around. So 800 used to be there before. It is around now 650, 700 is the number of seats that they have kind of changed this to. And GMAT, GRE are the only scores that they accept for this. And 24 months of minimum experience you need to have as on 31st March, as I already mentioned. Right. In terms of both these programs, right? The idea essentially is that if you have had teaching in English in your undergrad, then you don't have to write IELTS or TOEFL. Otherwise, you will have to write that. Right now, I think a few of you have asked some question which I think we can talk about. Um, Okay. What is the difference between PGP and MBA? Arushi, basically, for ISB, there's no difference, right? A PGP program is it's just a matter of nomenclature, very honestly speaking, right? ISB in any way does not provide a degree. Because that's also something you need to understand because it's not AICTE affiliated, right? So you get a diploma certificate kind of a thing, not a degree like someone gets at an IM. So it's a nomenclature difference more than anything else. Even the MBA programs at IIMs are called PGDM, PGP, and so on and so forth. It's a nomenclature difference. Yeah, there's questions I think we can take later on. I think there are a lot of questions which will get covered in due course of time. Now, both these programs are tad bit expensive, right? If I talk about the PGP YL Young Leader program, it's a 29-30 lakh of fees which is there. For the PGP program, it is around 35 to 38 lakhs of fees. It is expensive, but as I mentioned, there's a ROI which is there with it that you are able to go to those salary ranges where you can easily pay back, and then the growth trajectory is quite high, right? In terms of, but upfront, a lot of you might want कि कुछ financial support मिले, and therefore there are a lot of scholarships which ISB provides. Right, there are 9 category of scholarship: merit based, diversity based, ISEC based, foreign students based, and all of those things are there. And the quantum of amount of money could be say from 5 lakh rupees all the way to 100% tuition fee waiver, right? And there are also scholarships which are available to people who are after 1 year graduating from ISB. For example, people who typically get selected at my firm, Samagra, right? They because it's a governance consulting and a developmental space firm. Many of the people who get selected to us apply for a scholarship at ISB for developmental, development space placement, and they get around 15 lakh rupees of scholarship for that. So those type of scholarships are also available, right? Social impact startups and NGOs and stuff like that, basically. And every year, therefore, around 25% of the people will be getting some or the other scholarship, right? Okay, so that's the idea. Now, yes, now the class of 2025. If I talk about one of the major things that kind of makes ISB so lucrative is the diversity. It has a work experience diversity all the way from and here the all these data is for the PGP batch, mind you, because PGP while first of all is starting this year around, and secondly, typically historic data is available only for this batch essentially, right? So 2 to 22 years of experience is the range that you would find, right? Then gender diversity around 50% gender diversity, right? And industry and functional background you can see are people from multiple places. You will one of the beauties of ISB is the kind of diversity that you cannot expect in say an IIM. An ex-player from KKR was one of the batchmates, right? Ajay Jairam was one of the next batches. He was an international level badminton player who was 13th seeded internationally and India's top rank at one point of time. right? There are a lot of national level musicians, choreographers, filmmakers, and so on and so forth, who also come into ISB, and therefore the healthy diversity is one of the major attractions of ISB, right? Now, what are the parameters? Let me do one thing. Let me answer a few questions before we go ahead. I think there are a few questions which have come in from the relevant parts, so let me address them quickly, and then we'll move on. What kind of experience you expect? What is the average score cohort given to these exams? We'll just address that. Ayushi, specializations. See, there's no specialization in ISB, right? In the sense that you don't get a degree or a certificate or whatever, right? The diploma with any marketing or HR or ops or any finance written. But you can do a major in it, which basically means that at this stage, when you have to choose electives, you can choose elective of one specific type more to be basically able to call yourself that I have a major in this particular subject. But it's not going to reflect on your degree in any way. So typically, IIMs, ISB or the top colleges don't provide a specialized degree. It's a general management kind of a degree that essentially you get, right? Uh, is Tanviza, is it even an MBA if it doesn't provide a degree? So Tanvi, that's because ISB said that it wants to be an independent college, and therefore it does not conform to the norms of the government of India, AICTE, UGC norms, and that's why technically it is not a Indian government recognized degree, but internationally in India it is recognized as good as any other MBA degree, right? So that's the beauty of ISB, that regardless of not having, say, a government-backed, degree provision ability, it is considered to be the best in the world, and one of the best in India, right? So that's the beauty of it. But one of the key things to understand is that many of the Indian B schools will not consider it if you want to apply for a PhD program. Like for example, I've gotten myself into IIT Delhi PhD program for a now part-time PhD into marketing for not-for-profit, and for the same, I basically have to do credits which are more than anyone who with a recognized MBA degree will get. So that's the basic one difference that you might face having done an MBA. Apart from that, in job, in work, all of that, there's no difference that you will encounter, right? Okay. Then can people who already have MBA apply? Yes, you can apply. But okay, these questions will take up. Okay, let's move on. Understanding admissions parameter, right? Some of you asked that what are the things that ISB looks for? First is academic credentials. Second is leadership potential. And third is personal attributes. Let me define what these are. So, idea essentially is ISB, unlike a lot of other colleges, values a holistic personality and a balanced personality. Right? You should have done something or the other in all of the areas, and you should outshine in some areas for sure. But you can always offset one area from the other. For example, if your academics is not bad, some of you asked that my academics is not so good, maybe not from good college, the CGPA is low, and all of that. You can very well, kind of outshine in personal attributes or leadership potential, work experience, extracurriculars, and so on and so forth. Right? So the idea is for academic credentials, strong and consistent 10, 12 UG marks, GMAT or GRE scores could help out, certifications could help out, right? One thing to understand is there is no cutoff, right? Typically, you will see that every year ISB says that okay, minimum say 550 or whatever it was this score that someone got, and maximum was say 730 or whatever, right? Let's assume. The idea essentially is those are ranges of actually people who got selected, but there was no cutoff. People would have been shortlisted even at a lower marks and may not have made it to the interview stage or vice versa, right? But there's no, it's a balanced thing that they look at, right? In terms of leadership potential, what kind of impact you have created professionally, personally. You might have been a startup owner. You could have been someone who have promoted multiple times in 3 years, 4 years time. Those things kind of are valued. Personal attributes are basically because you're writing essays, you're getting LOR written, so and you're writing about your extracurriculars and awards and activities. All of those things are also evaluated. That maybe you are a national level sports person, you are a district level sports person, you are IPL player, whatever. Right? Those kind of things also make your profile stand out. Idea essentially is one thing or the other. If you are able to show good, your chances of selection rise increases. Right? Okay. Now, in terms of the profile, what does profile mean? Basically, the personal attributes, leadership potential, initiative taking abilities, innovation that you do at your workplace, the kind of progression or the growth that you have shown in the workplace, the kind of impact, qualitative or quantitative, all these things are things that you put in your essay or you put in an application process in different places to actually show that you have, kind of you outshine others. So at one place or the other, you have to put these things. You have to, craft your answers. You have to craft your application different sections in manner to show these different aspects, right? And therefore, the idea of having a support from an admissions consultant becomes very, very important, right? Because sometimes you undervalue yourself, or you may also overvalue yourself. No, मैं तो best हूँ, but the person who have seen say 100, 200,000 of different applications would be able to then see, okay, what could work, what could not work, how do you position yourself, how do you market yourself better in the application to make a better case for yourself. That's the beauty of it, right? Someone asked about the weightage, right? These are again heuristics, not because there's no public record of any such kind of a relative weight which ISB declares, but based on our experience, based on informal connects with the admissions committee, these are some of the split. That the profile, which is your academics, extracurriculars, work experience, projects, internships, certifications, is around 30% weightage, right? The GMAT or GRE is around 25 to 30% weightage again. And other aspect, which is your interview, scholarship essays, leader, LORs, essays that you write, SOP that you put, right? All of that is around 40 to 45% weightage, right? And therefore, you need to kind of have a good balance across everything to be able to kind of make a very good case for yourself, right? Yeah. Now, these are some of the indicative list of things that help you kind of enhance your profile. So if you have done case studies, if you have done good projects, if you've published research papers, you have gone to conferences, mention about those things. In extracurricular, dance, drama, music, painting, sports, YouTube blogger, content developer, influencer, TikTok artist, whatever, right? Those things kind of are the things that you can kind of explore. Then internships in government, non-government, high impact. Idea essentially is what has written in our indicative list. It's not an exhaustive list. The idea is that if you've done these things, similar kind of things, you stand a good chance of making a good case about yourself. The idea is the benchmark is have you done impactful work in internships or in your work or as an NGO or whatever, right? Those things kind of help out a lot, right? Now about now there are obviously two major examinations that you have one has to give, right? For the PGP program, PGP YL, you also have a flexibility writing the CAT examination. Let's quickly talk about the GMAT examination and the GRE examination and the structure, right? The GMAT focus examination, it is called focus now, but now that's the only examination that one can give. Is around 2 hour 15 minutes test with three sections: data insights, which talks about data sufficiency, analysis, two-part analysis, graphs, and all of that. It's a 20 question, 45-minute test section. Then there are 21 questions in the quant, which is mathematics, again 45 minutes, and last section is again 45-minute section, which is a verbal section. So one has to kind of prepare all three sections, do decent even across all to have a chance of having a good percentile overall, right? It is an adaptive test. One of the key important things to understand is that GMAT and in fact even GRE are adaptive tests, right? What does that mean, right? Idea essentially is that the attempt of one question determines the level of question that you get next in GMAT. So for example, you get the first question in say data sufficiency. If you make it right, you'll get a harder question. If you get it wrong, you get an easier question. And therefore, that's how adaptive tests work. Your graph gets created about a score, and that's how you eventually get a whatever 655, 675 kind of a score at the end of it, right? GMAT, the other one is the GRE. The pattern for the same is also shifted. Again, it's a three-section test. It's analytical writing, 30 minutes, right? Where you analyze an issue or a task, right? Then there's a verbal section, which is in two sections, section one and section two. 18 minutes of section one, 23 minutes of section two. And similar split of 21 to 26 minute section are there also in quant. But GRE essentially is a sectional adaptive test. The way you do one section determines the level of question you get in the next section in verbal and in quant. So slight difference in GRE and GMAT there, but yeah, that's how it is. Typically, what has been observed is people who are good in verbal, in terms of say being able to remember spelling, I mean not spellings, meanings of words and all of that, do better in GRE. right? People who are more critical analysis kar pate hain, that is prefer to do GMAT. Mathematics, I would say GRE is GMAT is more or less there, but GRE is slightly easier, is what has been the empirical proof. But also depends upon what kind of test kind of works for you. So best is give a mock test of both. Wherever you feel more comfortable at ease is the one that you should give. Right? That's how I think you should make a decision on that front, right? But in terms of which test is given a more weightage, there's nothing of that sort. Both of them are equally valued because at the end of the day, both of them are percentile-based examinations, right? So percentile matters, score marks does not matter as much, right? Yes, so that was all from my end. I will hand it over to Deepak to take you through the rest of the presentation. And I'll be answering questions in the chat section through text. So feel free to keep on putting the questions there. And we'll also take more questions towards the end of the presentation after Deepak has also ended his section. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you so much, Venkatesh. That was quite comprehensive to understand and know more about ISB. I am sure that most of the students who've joined this session must be here for the first time. So I hope you all got a fair idea, like what makes ISB unique, what makes this school as a number one school in the country, and not over in the country now. Given the kind of traction that most of the one-year MBA programs that are getting in India, it is equal or even better in terms of ROI, in terms of networking, when you compare these programs with any of the global MBA programs. Now, ISB is ranked 27th in the world, and it is equally treated well when you compare it with schools like London Business School, or maybe INSEAD or HEC Paris, or maybe the M7 colleges that everybody dreams of getting into. Now, I'll be walking you through what is the process of getting into ISB. Okay, now when you've decided that, okay, this is the school where I should be applying, now how to apply, what are the challenges or what are the ways that you can go ahead with while applying to ISB. So just give me a moment, I'll share my screen and walk you through that journey. All right. So before I proceed ahead, so this is a slide for all of those who must have thought that, okay, if it is the next year that I want to get into ISB. So just to help you understand, ISB for its PGP program, that is for the 1 year full-time MBA program, has already started the applications for 2026 intake. Okay, here are the deadlines. You can definitely take a screenshot of it and you'll get a fair idea. So round one is on 14th September. This is the deadline. So that means from today, from 7th of June till 14th of September, this is the window where you can apply for the round one of applications. Okay. By any chance, if you miss out applying in the round one, so then you can submit your applications in the round two. The deadline is 7th of December. And there is going to be a round three also, which is going to end by 25th of January. All right. So let's get started on understanding the 7 steps what we have curated. And this has come out of our experience of sending and mentoring students for ISB over the past 15, 20 years. We've been training, we've been guiding students, we've been helping students to getting into the top 1 year MBA programs in India, which includes ISB, as well as the schools like IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Indore, Lucknow for their 1 year full-time MBA programs. And obviously the top schools abroad, be it Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Columbia, Yale, INSEAD, HEC Paris, London Business School, all of these top tier categories colleges. Out of our experience, this is what we have curated, the 7 steps to getting into ISB. First step is to choose the right fit career option. Now, uh, a lot of students, they just randomly decide to go ahead with an MBA program, but they fail to understand this, or they should be taking a step back just to understand which career option that they want to choose, what exactly they want to pursue in a longer run. Okay, what exactly they should be pursuing maybe for the next 15, 20 years of their life. So this is something that is the step one that you have to figure out. okay, to identify the right fit career choice. Now, what is a career choice? It is a function of aspirations, what you want to become, the kind of skills what you have now or you want to acquire, the kind of external conditions which may impact your plan. For example, the kind of colleges, the budget that you have, the kind of government rules or regulations, and obviously the kind of career option which should have a global business demand. There should be a demand in that particular domain for professionals. Okay, so you'd have to understand all of these four aspects and find out the function of all of these four aspects to decide the right fit career choice. The next step is to identify the long-term and your short-term career goals. Now, long-term and short-term career goals are driven by the impact what you want to create, the kind of competencies that you have, the kind of core skills that you bring on board. Third is the potential that you have, whether you want to do it or not. Okay, whether you are enough motivated to go forward with this or not. Okay, so these are the three drivers which are going to drive your long-term and your short-term career goals. Now, what is a long-term career goal? A lot of students whom I ask, they clearly mention that, okay, I want to become a consultant at McKinsey. This is my long-term career goal. Or I want to build an apartment in Malibu, maybe chilling there and building a very good life ahead. So that is one of my long-term goals, but that is not how it is when it comes to MBA admissions. Universities would try and find this out, that whether you're matured enough to understand the kind of business problems which are there in the industry, and do you have a plan or do you have an intent of solving those business problems or not. All right, it is not about earning so much, or it is not about getting into specific set of organizations. It is more about the kind of problems that you intend to solve. Okay, then comes the impact. The problem, it should not be restricted to only one organization. It should not be restricted to your own self. It should be an industry-wide problem. Okay. And the solution that you have to create for that problem should be scalable. It should not only be specifically for one organization. It should be industry-wide. Third, do not plan in terms of the roles, responsibility, or the functional area. It cannot be your long-term career goal. What if suddenly I get an offer from McKinsey to become a consultant? Whether I'll be able to say that, okay, I've achieved my long-term career goal, there is nothing else that I want to do. Okay, obviously that is not the case. So in that scenario, you would have to plan only in terms of the kind of problems that you want to solve, the solutions that you want to implement, and the solutions should be scalable. Okay, then comes your short-term career goals. What exactly you intend to pursue immediately after your MBA. Okay, I'll come on to the essays for this year, for 2026, which is a very crucial part, and you to understand that how these things have to be put in the form of essays. Okay, why I'm telling you this about what are long-term career goals and what are short-term career goals. So stay tuned for that. So short-term career goals are specifically the skills which are required to achieve your long-term career goal. In simpler terms, it is just the plan of action to achieve your long-term career goal. So plan of action in terms of the kind of functional area where you have an expertise or where you want to become an expert, the target roles and responsibilities that you intend to take up immediately after completing an MBA. Now, in order to solve a large business problem, so just to give you an example there, one of our students, he identified a problem that most of the Indian retailers, they fall in the unorganized sector in the country. Okay, which is true. And obviously, if there are numerous and lakhs of retailers who are falling in the unorganized sector in the country, so obviously it is impacting the overall economy of that country. Okay, now this is one kind of a problem. Now, what is the solution of that problem? To integrate technology for these small retailers so that they can convert their businesses from unorganized sector to organized sector by introducing process systems, by introducing technology, by formalizing their businesses. All right. So what he did, he created an app, okay, where he onboarded retailers, where he run a training platform, how to run ERP systems, how to integrate their billing softwares in their existing business so that they can digitalize their business to certain level and obviously they can formalize their overall revenue that is being generated in their business. All right. So this is one way of solving that problem. And obviously this is a huge problem. This is a very large problem. Digital inclusion or financial inclusion is a very large problem that obviously government is also working upon and solving. All right. Now if he has picked up that problem, so firstly he need to understand like how to scale this solution, how to reach out to many retailers or how to reach out to the maximum number of people who are there in this industry. Okay, so this is where he had a goal that he want to work with the consulting organizations which specifically consult MSMEs. Okay, so that he can understand the process of reaching out, process of solving problems, process of integrating the solutions. Okay, now the long-term career goal is financial inclusion or digitalization of businesses. The short-term career goal is to work in the consulting organizations which are specifically working for MSMEs. This is the clear example of how you should be setting up your short-term and your long-term career goals. Okay, then the target organizations that you want to work with. Okay, the target industry that you want to take up post completing your MBA. Now this is the kind of maturity or this is the kind of expectations that any B school would have from a candidate who is going for an MBA program. Okay, they should be they would deep dive into your essays just to understand what exactly you intend to pursue and why exactly you want to do this. All right, then comes identifying the skill gaps. So skill gaps are basically the skills that you have earned through your undergraduate degree, the internships or the jobs that you have done, the kind of skills that are required to achieve your long-term and your short-term career goals. Now, when I explained you through an example, now let's take up the same example. In order to get into consulting organizations which are specifically consulting for MSMEs, you firstly need to understand how finance is operated or how HR function actually works, how marketing actually works, how to integrate all of these business functions together to run a particular business. Okay, so these are the kind of skills which are required. I am a software engineer, so I might not have a same skill set. So this is something that you have to acquire. These are the skill gaps. So in terms of interdisciplinary skills and the horizontal skills that you want to add up to your profile. This serves as a skill gap. So this is something that you would have to analyze, and then you would have to move forward in building up your essays. This is a very critical and an important task. Yesterday only ISB has started off with the applications. I immediately logged into the portal. I fetched the new essays for ISB, and let's decode these essays. And I'll also ask Venkatesh to please share his inputs on the new essays for this year, because from the past 2 years the essays were quite similar, but this year the essays are completely different. All right. So firstly, you'd have to use a top-down approach, which includes the kind of goals that you'd have to explain. Okay, why exactly you have set those goals, why exactly you have picked up that kind of a problem. If it has impacted you personally, so share that storyline. What motivated you to pick up those goals? Write your story in a chronological order. That is very important, that you start off right from your schooling or from your undergrad, then what kind of activities that you've taken during your undergrad, how did you continue with those kind of activities, and how did it change your overall perception towards others or maybe personality that you've built up, and what exactly you've done during your work experience or during your jobs and the kind of roles and responsibilities that you had. Then highlight the achievements, highlight the kind of struggle stories that you might have in your life so far. If you're able to integrate both of these things together, so it would obviously sound that you are a struggler, you know how to deal with problems, you know how to solve these problems, and that is something which is a trait of a leader. Okay, solving problems is the trait of a leader. Okay, this is what is expected from a leader. So this is what you'd have to explain in your essays. Connect the instances of your life. If you have any pivot points, I'm sure that I was reading a few profiles in the chat box. I've seen there are software engineers, there are consultants, there are lawyers, there are doctors which are attending these sessions. Okay, I was able to see a few profile, and in fact a few students, they have personally sent me their profile. So, see the kind of diversity of this particular cohort, the students who are attending this session. Similarly, there will be a huge diversity at ISB also. As Venkatesh rightly mentioned, there were cricketers, there were filmmakers, there were actors, there were musicians, there were football players, and obviously there was a huge diversity. Now, if I am a cricketer, I'm going for a management program. This is a kind of pivot in my career. Okay. I might go for a corporate career. So this is kind of a pivot in my life. So I have to connect these instances, why exactly I've taken this decision and where exactly I want to be after I do my MBA. Okay. So I have to connect those instances. That is very, very important. Give examples which are real one. And very important advice, do not do chat GPT. Do not go for this AI written content. That is not going to help you out. Now there are plenty of tools which identify the AI written content and the human written content. That is something that you should strictly avoid.
Yeah,
Do not
just
try
to
to, yeah,
yeah, just to add to this point, so the current batch has just started. About I think their term one has ended.
yeah,
I think in the Mohali campus, around 20 people, were given a grade drop because in their assignment they tried to kind of use Chat GPT and AI tools, and the professors kind of identified it. So if they're doing it for the current batch, they'll definitely do it in the admissions. So please do not
absolutely.
try to game the system.
Absolutely. That is absolutely correct. See, any which ways, obviously these AI tools cannot get into your life and to craft a story around it. Obviously, it is you who better knows about yourself, who knows about the kind of struggles or the kind of achievements or the kind of stories what you had in life. And I'll just show you the essays also for this year. You'll try to understand like why exactly are they asking you about all of this? Okay. So using examples which are real ones would actually help you out, but do not try to copy paste it. Do not try to fabricate a story of maybe another ISB alum or maybe a student who have got into ISB. That is absolutely not going to work out. Okay, what exactly will you learn from an MBA? Okay, so it is important that you clearly define this to the AdCom. This is the reason why I'm coming for an MBA program. Okay, these are the four key skills that I want to acquire in my profile. This is the reason, and this is something that I would not get any from anywhere else or from any other program. This is only an MBA, that too from ISB, which is going to help me. Okay, you have to be very, very specific. So an in-depth college research is very much required. And this is where consultants at Career Launcher, consultants like Mr. Venkatesh, they are going to help you out in getting the access to that research. Okay. How will you be able to add value to the institution? Are there any key skills? Are there any specific competencies that you have? Okay, which you're going to bring on board? If you have that, so mention this in your essays that this is something that the other batchmates or the peers would be able to learn from me. Okay, this is where I'm expert, or this is what I bring into the table. Okay, so this is something that you'd have to explain in your essays. Now coming on to the ISB PGP YLSAs. If you can please quickly write a yes in the chat box if you're having work experience of around 1 year. Okay, 1 year or lesser. Just quickly a yes in the chat box. 1 year or lesser. Oh,
And
there are plenty of students.
Deepak, it will be also great if you can share the one-on-one profile evaluation link because a lot of people in the chat have been asking for the same. If you can just put that in, I think people can also register in the meanwhile.
Yeah, yeah, I'll share that link in the chat box. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, and I think there are about at least 10, 15 people who have said yes for about 1 year. So I think all of you, by the time, say, 15th June comes for 2026, would have less than 2 years of experience or 24 months of experience, and therefore will be eligible for the PGPYL program essentially. The rest of you, I'm assuming, have more than 2 years of experience already, or about 2 years of experience, and therefore, by the next 31st March, you might have say you will be eligible for a PGP program submission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've posted the form link in the chat box. Whosoever wants to get their profile evaluated, please go ahead and fill up this form. My team would get in touch with you. They'll schedule your one-on-one sessions with us, and we'll be more than happy to discuss specifically about your profile. All right. So all those, I have seen that there are plenty of students with less than 1 year of work experience or up to 1 year of work experience. Why I'm asking 1 year is because for PGPYL, you should have up to 2 years of work experience till 15th June of 2026. All right. So if you have work experience of around 1 year by now, so by next year, you would be having less than 2 years of work experience. So that makes you eligible to target the PGPYL program, that is the 20 months program. Okay. But if you're a candidate having more than 1 year of work experience as on date, as on today, okay, so then ideally you should be looking out for the PGP program because you should be having around 2 years of work experience till 31st March of 2026. This is what ISB says. Okay, so these are the guidelines. So be mindful that which program you want to apply for, and obviously you can get in touch with us to help you out figuring out the right program. And these are the essays. Let's read these essays quickly. So the essay one, describe a specific personal situation in which you assumed a leadership role, okay, without formal authority. So without giving a formal authority, without any designation, you assumed a leadership role. How did you motivate and influence others during during this experience? What challenges did you encounter and what insights did you gain about leadership abilities as a result of this experience? This is something a very critical essay which clearly asks you about define me. If you say so that you're a leader, so define me those instances, okay, where you have assumed a leadership role, or how did you motivate or influence others. So define those kind of examples. Okay, and that has to be very personal. Okay, so don't try and copy paste or do not try and find this out. What adcom would like to hear from you, it is not about that they want to hear something specific from you. Okay, just tell them about yourself, okay, about your own story. What unique experiences and perspective do you bring to your class? How do you intend to contribute to the diversity of thoughts and ideas within the program? And again, this essay asks you about the diversity, the key skills that you bring on board, how the peer batchmate would be able to learn from you. Okay, this is what I've covered earlier too. What impact do you aim to create after completing the PGPYL program? Please share the medium to long-term career plans, including any specific challenges you anticipate facing along the way. Again comes your long-term and your short-term career goals. Okay, this is where it is important that you have to think through first that what should be your long-term goal, what should be your short-term career goals, what are the skill gaps, why am I going for an MBA, what exactly I intend to pursue post MBA. This is something which becomes important here. Okay, now you must get to know that how exactly the process should be, how to align the entire process step by step. Now, here are the essays for PGP. A quick yes in the chat box if you're having more than 1 year of work experience, more than 1.5 years of work experience as on today. A quick yes in the chat box. Oh, great. So, like, I presume that there are 100 students in the session today, and 50-50 are going for PGPYL, and around 50 odd would be going for the PGP. That's great. So let's understand the PGP essays. Now these essays have changed. So last year there were different essays. Now this year these are different essays. So again, you would not find the answer of these essays on any of the online platforms, or maybe whatever the alums have written in their applications. All right. So just to decode these essays, I just read it out. What unique experiences have shaped who you are? What have these experiences taught you about leadership and the kind of leader you aspire to be? Again, this is a leadership essay. Second is, what intellectual experiences have influenced your approach to learning and have led you to pursue an MBA? Because, see, you are a candidate having more than 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years of experience. you might not be in touch with your studies from a very long time. Okay, now this becomes important, that what instances have influenced you to go for an MBA? Why exactly you want to get yourself in an academic program again in life? Okay, and why exactly you have decided to go for an MBA at this point in time in your career? Okay, so you'd have to explain why MBA and why now. Okay, this is what this essay is trying to ask you. Share with us any intellectual pursuits, including perspectives or experiences that you have pursued that have shaped your worldview or growth, though these pursuits, and how they could potentially contribute to your learning community. Again, what kind of values that you bring on board, what kind of skills that you bring on board. Okay, are there any unique experiences? So Venkatesh, if you can please share your views on these new essays, like how different they are from the previous years, and like if you can please slightly try to decode these essays.
Yeah, sure, sure. Folks, so one of the key things is that, as evident, they are trying to understand you not through your, certificates or your mark sheet only, right? And therefore, they want you to kind of retrospect about yourself, introspect about yourself, to actually dig deeper into your personality, your traits, your, philosophies that you adhere to, and therefore judge you based on that as a holistic personality, right? And therefore, if you look at the first question, it talks about unique experiences, right? About who you are and what has it taught you about a leadership style. So now, so if you look at the PG while program first essay from last year, which we just showed in the previous slide, it was about leadership without authority, because typically in 0 to 2 years of experience, you will not get a leadership role formally. But here they're talking about formal leadership role, and therefore expecting that people plus 2 plus years experience would have had something or the other about leadership traits that you might have kind of faced. And they were with your personal evidences, personal anecdotes, examples. You try to bring about your leadership style, whether it is assertive, whether it is conducive, whatever, right? Whatever type of style you have, right? So those kind of things you have to kind of bring about in the first essay. The second one is about intellectual experiences, which has influenced you towards what kind of learning style do you have, and why do you want to do an MBA through that, through that journey. This second essay is actually the same essay from last year, so they have repeated this essay as the same one, but the first essay and the third essay are very different and very new. The interesting thing is the third essay historically has mostly been why do you want to do an MBA and why from ISB. They
Yeah.
have completely changed that to a new essay about intellectual pursuits, perspective, experiences, about worldview, right? Talk about your pursuits, extracurriculars, and so on and so forth, right? And therefore, it's a very new kind of an essay altogether that you'll have to really put your mind to yourself. You kind of account for all the various small things that you may or may not remember currently about yourself from your childhood, right? Even that, say, class six, say shameful incident on the stage where you kind of became someone who was frightened of stage, right? Would be very, very important to account for in terms of how your life journey has impacted what kind of person you are, what kind of perspectives you have developed towards life. So therefore, it requires an in-depth understanding of you yourself, and therefore that is all what goes into writing these essays in a good manner, unique manner, and which makes you stand out. And therefore, it's not a overnight exercise of just thinking about yourself, writing in 24 hours your essay and submitting. It actually
Correct.
requires at least a month long of exercise of introspection, remembering each and everything, getting vetted by the admissions consultant, refining it at least 6 to 7 times to become a very good solid narrative, and then submitting the essay.
That's a great view to it. And what exactly these essays are going to test? Dwell deeper into your aspirations, experiences, and perspectives. So, if you've seen the three essays, all the three essays, they're specifically asking you about to share your experiences. There is no straight answer to a question. Okay, it is about what, like if you see the essay one, what have these experiences? Again, essay 2, please describe unique using anecdotes from your own experiences. Third essay, share with us any intellectual pursuit, unique perspective, or experiences. Again, they want to understand you about your life, who you are, where exactly you're coming from. Okay, this is what you'd have to be mentioning in your applications, and it has to be unique. Okay, so again, I'm just reiterating, do not try to copy paste. Do not try to explore resources where you can get 100 odd essays from ISB. That is not going to help you out. All right. Now, let's understand another important aspect of the application, that is your recommendations. Okay, a lot of students have these queries. A lot of students, they want to know what kind of recommendations that they have to submit to getting into ISB. Now, in your application form, the form that you fill up for ISB, so you just state your profile details along with essays. Okay, so your essays explain about your profile, about your goals, about your plans overall. Okay, but through your LOR, through your letter of recommendation, the institute validates your claim. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to ask you to share the details of your recommender. Okay, there is no such letterhead, signed, stamped, what you would have to need. Okay, you just have to share the details of your recommender: name, phone number, email ID, official email ID, and designation, organization. These are the only details, and your relationship with that recommender. These are the only details what you'd have to fill up in your ISB application. ISB would send a direct email to your recommender with a questionnaire. And what exactly they're going to ask? The recommendation form shared via an email asks them to evaluate your strengths and potential growth areas by reviewing your strength and potential across several parameters. Okay, so they will get a link over an email. Okay, so there is no need of reaching out to your professor saying that, okay, I need an LOR signed stamp from the institute. They're just going to send an email, and your recommender would have to fill up that questionnaire and submit it back to ISB. Okay, that is very, very important. Now, who should be the recommender? Choose recommenders who can validate different aspects of your profile. If you're getting a academic recommender on board, so it is important that the person should also validate your claims for your professional journey. Okay, if you're getting a professional recommender on board, maybe your manager or maybe anyone of your mentors at your workplace should also be able to validate your academic abilities. Okay, so a person who knows you personally as well as professionally, okay, should be the right recommender to your profile. Choose recommenders who have guided you as a manager or a superior, because they are the ones who spend most of their time to evaluate you, to assess your performance, to set your benchmarks, to set your targets, to evaluate your overall performance. Okay, and then if possible, share your and discuss your essays with your recommender so that they know what exactly you are claiming in your application. Okay, and they can validate the same claims. Okay, this is a kind of a way of like telling your recommender, this is what I'm claiming and this is what I expect that you should write. Okay, so this is where we also engage with a lot of recommenders, telling them, okay, this is what the candidate is going to submit to the AdCom. So it is important that you validate the same claims while you submit your LOR. Recommender with a senior person or person who has created an impact would work like a magic, but do not run after that. It is not about you run after your CEO, tell them that, okay, I want an LOR for ISB admission. But if he or she has not worked with you, that is not going to work out for ISB. Okay. Up, if you can get a person who is a senior person who has some name in the industry, who has a visible personality in the industry, so then obviously that would work like a magic. Okay, it's just that ISB wants a person who has strong credentials to validate your claims. This is what they want at the end of the day. All right. So what ISB says, tips on whom to choose. Direct and current supervisors are generally preferred, and others may include past supervisors, managers, professional colleagues. You may choose a client if you work in your family business or if you are an entrepreneur. Okay, so you can obviously choose your clients or maybe your CA or maybe the people whom you have worked with. If you're considering a professor as a recommender, be sure to approach someone who can comment on your work and your potential beyond what's on your transcripts. Okay, this is what I just explained. Now a lot of students, they ask Whether family business work experience would be counted? Yes, it would be counted, definitely. A lot of students, they ask, I'm a CA, I've done articleship, but post qualification, will it be counted? Yes, it would be counted. If you haven't done any professional qualification while pursuing your CA, just to give you an example, a lot of CAs, they also do BCom. Okay, so if you have not done BCom, if you've only done CA, then your articleship work experience will not be counted as full-time work experience. So just to share with you, uh, the definition of a full-time work experience is of a work experience is, firstly, it has to be full-time. Secondly, it has to be paid. Third thing, it has to be post-qualification. Okay, if your experience satisfies all the three criterias, then only it will be considered as full-time work experience. So a person who has worked with you full-time, who knows about your different aspects of your profile, should be the right recommender to your application. Okay, this is a very, very important aspect. Then comes the grunt work, that is preparing for the interviews, where a lot of students, they face fears of maybe like facing an interview panel, but this is something that you would have to any which ways go through it if you really want to get into ISB. Okay, so ISB would primarily evaluate you on two aspects. One is behavioral questions, second is going to be the knowledge based questions. Okay, so behavioral questions about your personal qualities, about your decision making abilities, about your interpersonal skills, about your life experiences, whatever you have mentioned in your SOPs or in your essays. Knowledge based questions, whether you are academically ready to go for an MBA, you know the fundamentals of the management concepts that are going to be taught in an MBA program. Are you aware of that? Okay, this is something which would require that you should do an in-depth research about the curriculum of an MBA program, about what you intend to learn there, about the fundamentals of those concepts. Okay, so that would also show your readiness to go for an MBA. Now, behavioral questions about yourself, connect with your personal qualities, how your friends, colleagues will describe you as an individual, your accomplishments or any kind of failure, what you have faced during your work experience or during your undergrad studies. Go through each and every component of your profile and your essays, whatever you have written. Okay. Another important advice here: do not ask someone else to write your essays. Okay, if it is your own story, okay, write it on your own. Okay, do not ask someone else to write your essays. As admission consultants, we are there to guide you, we are there to help you, but not to write essays for you. Okay, we do not write essays. We tell you what should be written. We tell you that we understand your story, we share our inputs, and we guide you that what exactly is actually going to be appealing in your applications. But do not try to hire a content writer or an editor to write your essays for you. Okay, that is not going to work out again. Okay, so that you know what exactly you have put in your essays, so that you are able to encounter any question, okay, during your interviews. Research the B school. How will you be able to add value? Research about your goals. Be firm with your long-term and your short-term career goals. Do an in-depth research about it. Prepare and revise relevant components of your work experience or your undergrad degree. If you're applying for PGPYL, you should be thorough with the curriculum of your undergrad degree. You should know that what I have learned there, the kind of projects that I've done, the professors whom I've studied with, the kind of activities or any kind of reports that I have submitted. So you should be well aware of that. Practice answering the questions in a star format. Again, this is a very good advice. So please take a note of it. Answer the questions in a star format. What is a star format? You explain the situation first. So what was the situation during that particular experience, whatever you are explaining? Okay, the background of that experience. Then the tasks that you had in hand at that point in time in that particular situation. Then the kind of actions what you have taken up during those tasks, what kind of action points that you have followed. Okay, and then comes the result of your actions. Okay, so if you're able to explain your answers or convey your answers in a star format, that it shows that you are structured with your answers, you're well prepared, you're keen, you're matured, and you know what exactly has to be explained during an interview. You're not just making random guesses. Okay, you're well prepared for it. You know what exactly has to be explained. Okay, this is something that you would have to answer through a star format: situation, task, action, and results. Then comes the seventh step: arrange your documents and finances. Just to let you know, if you're going ahead with the PGP, the 1 year MBA program, it is going to cost you around 40 to 42 lakhs, depending upon the kind of stay that you choose: single accommodation, double accommodation, triple accommodation, accordingly. If you're going ahead with PGP YL, it is going to cost you around 30 to 32 lakhs. Okay, so a 2 year program, 20 months program, around 30 to 32 lakhs, and a 1 year MBA program at PG at ISB would cost you around 40 to 42 lakhs. This is the overall fees, including your living expenditure at the campus, specifically your accommodation. Okay, it does not include your flight tickets, it does not include any kind of parties, what you're going to do at the campus or off the campus. Okay, this is just the tuition fee and your accommodation at the campus. Okay. Reach out to colleges for scholarship. Obviously, ISB has around 30 odd programs under which they allow you to apply for scholarships. Okay. And they officially say this: for applying for PGP, around 25% of the cohort would get into the program with a scholarship. Okay. For PGP YL, okay, for their 2 year program for freshers, they have officially announced that nearly 50% of the cohort would get into the program with a scholarship. So ISB is a scholarship heavy university. It wants to give scholarship to the students. So do not treat finance as a constraint. Obviously, build a strong profile, build a strong application, and give your all in to get into ISB with a scholarship. Okay, this is where we are going to help you out. In fact, one of our students this year is going to enter ISB with a scholarship around 15 lakhs. Okay, so 40 lakhs is the program fee, 15 lakhs is the scholarship that he has got. Okay, it's so an MBA program at ISB, world rank 27th program, at just a cost of 25 lakhs. Okay, so obviously, the more you get scholarship, obviously it would be a huge saving on your pocket. Okay, get rid of any kind of loans or credits that you have on your name. It helps you to build a better credit profile so that you can get an education loan if you're aiming for an education loan or planning for an education loan. Gather all the finances well in advance. Do not wait for the results to come in. Do not wait for the final interviews to come in. Okay, just arrange your finances well in advance. For the students who are going to apply in round one, the interviews are going to be somewhere around November. You'd get your results around December or January. So it is important that you should gather your funds well in advance, because your cohort would start in April for PGP. Okay, so it is important that you gather all the finances. Try to get funding which is greater than your tuition fee and your living expenditure. Okay, so 40 lakhs is the tuition fee and your accommodation, and maybe another 2 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs, depending upon how uh, often you commute from your college to home and home to college, okay, or anywhere else. So try to get funding which is greater than your tuition fee and your living expenditure. Reach out to agencies which provide collateral free loans. There are all nationalized banks which provide you with education loan for ISB, because ISB is amongst the prestigious colleges of the country. So they'll be more keen on giving you some better rate of interest and better loan for your education. Okay, but there are other organizations also which provide you collateral free loan. Okay, Avance, Prodigy, Empire, SDFC, Credila. And Venkatesh, like I remember you saying somewhere that you also got into ISB, and you took a loan for your education. So how
Yeah.
was the scenario there? If you can please.
Yes. So basically, I took a loan from SBI, and like A lot of my colleagues took from SBI, a lot of people took it from Bank of India. So there are different banks that provide these loans. The two major benefit is that it's a collateral-free loan. So that's one major benefit. Second is it comes at a fixed interest rate. So for me, luckily because it was just after the COVID, the repo rate was very low. The loan I got was at a 6.7% rate, which
Oh,
is a very low
that's
interest
great.
rate,
That's great.
right?
Yeah.
And because it is fixed, even today when the repo rate increased, though yesterday it decreased, but again,
Yeah.
because of the fluctuation, my interest rate does not get changed. So that's the benefit of it. And obviously, the good thing also is that you are able to repay it at a some of my colleagues who have taken a similar kind of a loan have already repaid it within 2 years of graduation, right? And obviously with savings also in play. So all of those things are readily possible. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So do not treat finance as a constraint while applying to ISB. Obviously, there are means where you can manage your finances. One is to get a scholarship, second is to get a easy, like low interest loan from any of the nationalized banks. So that is there. And in fact, we also help our students so that they can plan their journey smoothly to ISB. Now, another important slide, please take a screenshot of it. That is very, very important.
Yeah,
So, uh, round one
हाँ पी
deadline
रहा
is
हूँ.
14th of, sorry, if you can please keep your mic on mute. All right. So the round one deadline is 14th of September. The application started yesterday on 6th of June. The application for round one will get over by 14th of September. That is the round one deadline. The GMAT GRE scores, it has to be there with you anywhere between June till August. Do not wait till the last day. Okay. However, you would get your results right on the day when you take your exam. But it is important that you should plan your GMAT well in advance. Okay. So ideal time would be June or July. If you haven't started off with your preparation, get started immediately. At Career Launcher, we have excellent programs, and most of our students have scored a 735, 725 in their first attempt, which is 100th percentile. Okay. And as you know that most of you must be a part of either our GMAT program or maybe our CAT program. So you must be aware the kind of existence that Career Launcher has in the test prep space. So we are pioneers. So you can definitely reach out to us if you want to prepare for GMAT or GRE. And we have specific batches that we are starting off for ISB. Okay. So all of you, please fill up the form that has been shared in the chat box so that you can register yourself there. Your interviews would be lined up somewhere by the end of October or by the mid of November if you're applying in round one. Your interviews would be conducted anywhere between November to December. Some interviews might be conducted in January. Final decision you'd get in February. Okay, that is just 2 months prior to your class start date. Okay, so it is important that you should manage your overall finances, manage your overall work. If you want to give a notice period at your workplace, so plan all of these things well in advance. Okay, and if you go ahead with Career Launcher for our consulting program, so your consulting would start from now till March of 2026. That is end to end from now till you land up to ISB. Okay. And for PGPYL, these are tentative dates. The application would start somewhere in November. This is based out of the last year timeline. And this year it has not been started yet. So you still have time. But if you want to apply in round one, get rid of your GMAT or GRE at the earliest. Just to share with you, for PGPYL, you are eligible to apply with your CAT scores also. But you know the CAT results are out somewhere by the first week of January or by the last week of December. So do not wait till that time because you miss out the round one deadline. Okay. If you want to keep an alternative, so go ahead with GMAT and get done with your GMAT exam in the span of next 3 months, because it won't take much time to prepare for GMAT. GMAT preparation usually takes around 3 to 3.5 months, 4 months at max. Okay, so it is the right time when you should immediately get started off. Then uh, your interviews would be somewhere in January. You'd get your results in March and your class would start in June of 2026. Okay, this is for the next year intake, that is for 2026 intake. Okay. Now, how Career Launcher would enhance your applications? So we would firstly brainstorm and create an application strategy with you. What exactly has to be written in your essays? What exactly are your life instances that we have to pick up and craft a story around it? Then we are going to help on crafting the essays. We'll guide you that how to narrate your story, how to mention your long-term and your short-term career goals, how to present your overall work experience and the progression of your work experience. Then we'll guide you that who should be the recommender, what exactly he or she should recommend you for. Okay, then we'll prepare you for the interviews, and we have people like Mr. Venkatesh at our consulting pool who are going to mentor you, train you. They'll share a lot of experiences of their journey to ISB. Okay, and we'll share detailed feedback and iterations at every given point in time. Okay, and if you want to invest in your success, you choose career launcher. So but there are some key points. You should not delegate your work. It is not about delegating, it is always about collaborating. Okay, we are not going to write essays for you. Okay, it is not about if you hire a consultant at career launcher, so then you don't have to do anything about it. Okay, obviously you would be a better part of your own admissions process. Okay, as well as there will be a consultant who is going to mentor you, guide you, train you for the entire process. Okay, obviously there will be experts bringing in 15 years, 20 years of experience of mentoring and guiding students. And obviously every year we have a lot of students who get into ISB, and it is not only about ISB. The students, they apply for 4 colleges, 5 colleges in India, abroad, a mix of India and abroad, and they'll land up admits everywhere. Okay, so we do ISB consulting, we do IM's 1 year MBA consulting also. If you're having more than 3 years, more than 4 years of work experience, you should consider other MBA programs also, which are offered by IM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Indore, Lucknow, Kozhikode, SP Jain, MDI, the 1 year programs. And most of these programs, they have a minimum eligibility of having 3 years or 4 years of work experience. Then we also do consulting for MBA, MIM programs. If you are a fresher having less than 2 years of work experience, so we'll help you out with MIM abroad. And if you're candidate having more than 3 years, more than 4 years of work experience, we'll guide you for an MBA program abroad if you wish to apply for any of the top tier category colleges. And obviously, you know that we are pioneers in GMAT, GRE preparation. So if you haven't started off with your prep yet, so immediately get in touch with us. We'll be more than happy to assist you there. This is what our students have to say. Arunam, who got into ISB, and working with Venkatesh sir on my MBA application was incredibly good. So obviously there are plenty of students whom we have worked with. Every year we have hundreds of students whom we mentor, and we successfully train them for the top tier MBA programs. Okay, and this is across the spectrum. And we deal with a lot of doctors, engineers, the management professionals, cricketers, lawyers, and a variety of students, like a category of students. Okay, so there are multiple categories that we cater to. Okay, for PGP as well as for PGP YL. Okay, so there have been excellent admits that what we have got in the last year admission cycle, and this is what we've been doing this from past 15-20 years now. Okay, and these are other admits to ISB, and these are a few of our admits for abroad schools. So this year we got students at Harvard, we got students at Columbia, at Cornell, at INSEAD, at HEC Paris, as SDA Bocconi, at IE Business School, Imperial College London, Cambridge, NUS Singapore, all the top schools across the globe. All right. So now I formally conclude my presentation for today, and I open the forum for the Q&A. We'll be picking up the questions from the chat box, and if you you can also unmute yourself and ask questions if any.
Yeah. So I think I've seen a few questions. I think in the meantime, people add more. Let me address a few which haven't been addressed. What is a disadvantage of applying for ISB round two, round three? See, officially there is no difference, right? Basically, the chances of getting selected across the 3 rounds remain very similar, right? And therefore, you can apply in either of the rounds. My personal, take is that though there is no much difference, it is better to kind of get into ISB at the round one, because then there's no benchmark that they're evaluating you against in terms of people who have already been selected, right? So though again there's not much of a difference, but even if it is a 19-20 difference, it's always good to have the odds in your favor, and therefore I prefer that earlier you apply round one, it is better. But again, officially there's no difference.
All right, someone has asked in USA colleges any problem the students are facing because of the Trump visa pushback. Just to let you know, this is specifically for the 2025 intake, and we are anticipating that obviously there will be a lot of questions around US visa policies now, and that is a major reason why a lot of Indian programs that they're now getting traction. And in fact, a lot of students they've started applying to European colleges. Obviously,
Yeah.
you find best of the B schools in Europe, okay, but now we are anticipating that the application surge would be observed for the European schools. But just to let you know, given the kind of repute, given the kind of career outcomes that US colleges provide, be it a school like Harvard or a Stanford or an MIT or a Columbia or an Yale or a Cornell or a Kellogg or a Chicago Booth, these are excellent schools. These are dream schools for all of us. Okay, so obviously there might be some sort of a drop in the number of applications, but just stay tuned in the process. Okay, don't worry much about it because you are any which ways going to join the universities in 2026. There will be plenty of notifications coming in during this line. Okay, do not hold back time. You should wait for the latest notifications. To I interview by that that he's not against of international students. Okay, he wants to invite international students to the cohort. Okay, the only challenge is that he wants the properly. Okay, because there are instances where the students are using these top as a medium creating a propaganda or maybe something, okay, which is obviously not acceptable. It is not about US. It is still applicable in a country like India also. Okay, everyone wants to treat these colleges only as a medium of okay, not a medium of creating any propaganda, promoting their view. So do not worry about the US colleges and pushback. Obviously, there will be a lot of updates coming in, and we'll also be updating you about the same.
Yeah. I think we can take one question from Shubhajit. Yeah, can you unmute yourself and answer? We'll take the rest from the chat after that. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, at a point of time in this session, you mentioned that our jobs have to be paid. So, what exactly do we mean by that, sir? Do we have to provide our salary slips?
Yeah, so typically, like if you are working somewhere, you get paid certain salary. So while applying for ISB, you'll have to submit those salary slips. So if you don't have salary slips, then income tax returns also work if you are self-employed or otherwise. So anything where it is shown that you are gainfully employed or were hired someplace is really good enough to apply. Yeah.
It's just that you should not be fabricating experience. It should, if you are doing it, so it should be getting paid. Okay, that is important. That is what qualifies as a full-time work experience.
There's one question about advice for reapplicants. I think it's come 2, 3 times, so I'll address that. Uh, I also was a reapplicant. I got through ISB in my third attempt. First time I did not get an interview call. Second time I got an interview call, did not get a conversion. Third time I got a interview call and got converted also. So the idea is the way you are able to show delta from previous attempts, the way you are able to justify your answers in a better manner in subsequent attempts increases your chance. I don't see any detriment or advantage of reapplying. So don't worry about those things. Put your best foot forward and give your best attempt in whichever attempt you are applying to ISB. Gayatri, why don't you unmute yourself and we can take your question next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Deepak and Venkatesh, for like having this session first of all. And my question was around the deadlines, right? So, does ISP have a rolling admissions? So, like, does it mean that the sooner you apply, the more chances you have?
No, it's not rolling. There are 3 times for PGP program, and for PGP while it's 2 times in a year that you can apply. But the deadline is the same. So you can apply earlier. It doesn't mean that you're gonna get the interview call earlier. All of the interview calls happen only after the deadline has completed and the evaluation of all the applicants in the pool has happened. So don't. So you can apply on the last day, or you can apply a month prior to the deadline. Doesn't matter as such.
Right, right, understood.
Yeah.
And also, are there any application fee waivers for ISP?
Application fee waivers, I don't think so.
No,
There aren't. No, nothing.
no, there
Yeah.
aren't any application fee waivers, and
Okay.
ISB to apply in the round one, application fee would be the lowest. In round two,
Hmm.
it would be slightly and
Yeah.
round
So
three.
application fee increases with the rounds. Yeah, that is there. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, got it. Thank you so
All
much.
right. This is the deadline for the 2026 intake. Round one, round two, and round three. There are no rolling admissions there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, got it.
I'll take one from the chat now. Utkarsh Shazaz, is the VGP VIL program more competitive in the flagship course? See, you can say so in some regard, some extent, because of two major reasons. One essentially is that typically people the seats are lesser in PGP while it's only 140 seats, and therefore it becomes competitive because of the limited number of seats. PGP program has around 600, 700, approximately that amount of seats, and therefore more number of people getting selected. Secondly, PGP program has only GMAT and GRE, while PGP while increases the complexity with CAT coming in, and therefore 99.5 plus percentile people are also getting shortlisted. Therefore, the pool increases there. And the third reason is that typically I've seen people with lower work experience getting more GMAT and GRE scores in general because they are more in touch with say their studies and therefore easier to get those scores, right? For me also myself, I got a 99.5 percentile at one point of time just after graduation, but after 5 years I gave the CAT again and mine was 98 percentile. So I saw that drop in myself, and therefore that's typically how it pans out, right? So that makes it competitive in all these regards essentially. The GMAT average scores, if I would say, for the PGP while it's not out officially. For the PGP batch, it is out this time around 675 for the PGP 2020 6 intake. PGP while I think should be a little higher, but it's not officially out. Deepak, if you have some insights there, you would get.
Obviously, it is not out yet, but given that PGPYL is specifically meant for the candidates who are having less work experience, so it is expected should be having at least a 97 or 90 percentile. So, which is going to be somewhere around a 665 or a 695 on the GMAT Focus Edition. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I talk about the PGP, the average what around a 675. Understand this part. Evaluate. There's no benchmark score which is actually going to help you out in landing up an admit prize. So
Yeah.
we are seeing student applying with a 725 GMAT, okay, which is a 99.9 percentile rejected at ISB. Okay, and we have seen a student with a 625 GMAT.
So
There is
again, yeah.
factor alone.
Deepak, I think you're also getting stuck. So if maybe you can check your internet because it's very patchy at your end probably. एक बार आप
Okay.
देख लीजिएगा. I'll take up one or two questions
Yeah.
in the meantime. Yeah, so I think there's one question about average GRE score needed. So typically you've seen around 329 is what people, the average or median is approximately at. The range typically who gets selected around 320, 319 to obviously there's no limit, upper limit as such, right? So yeah, that's there. But again, all of these keep on changing year on year, right? But one question is that if someone has a 300, 310 score, I think very difficult to get a call at that score. That becomes a little lower. So you'll have to work on that, Divya. Uh, Pratiswik, why don't you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, good evening and thank you for the informative presentation and gave to us. So I had a question regarding the GMAT and GRE. See, so I will be giving the CAT this year. And sir, is it possible if I can give the GMAT like in next year around February and apply for ISB in the round two rather than round one? Like I can apply with CAT score of in the first deadline and GMAT score in the second deadline. Is that a good way to go forward?
So, Pratiswik, in a one cycle, you can only apply once. So you'll have to pick. You cannot apply at round one as well as round two, right? You'll have to pick either you apply in round one with a GMAT score or a GRE score, or even CAT. So I think for the PG, while you can apply with the CAT also, but in the round one, because the results of CAT are not out yet, they ask you to put in your CAT roll number, and once the results are out a week or two later than the deadline, they will ask you to resubmit that aspect of it, that what's your now please upload your CAT marks. So you can apply in round one or round two with your CAT score for sure, and again same with GRE or GMAT, but you can only apply once. So you'll have to take a call what is the best in terms of applying them.
Thanks.
Okay, Ayush has asked one question. If we get selected online or offline interview, you have an option to opt. You can opt for an online interview, you can opt for an offline interview. Offline interviews typically happen in cities like Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai, right? And online, obviously, you can do it anywhere from, right?
So guys, I've
Mm,
put the form link in the chat box. If you want to schedule a one-on-one session, please go ahead and fill up this form. Okay,
yeah.
so obviously we'll be having quite low bandwidth in the coming week. So it is important that you fill up the form as early as possible so that we accordingly schedule your
Yeah.
session.
There's a question about what's the conversion rate of ISB. Ashwath has asked. So it's around 22%
Yeah.
typically, because what ends, so it may seem that, okay, that's a very high chance of selection, but the idea essentially is that there's a self selection which happens because of just seeing the benchmark of GMAT, GRE score, that people with typically lower GMAT, GRE score do not apply only. And if the pool of people who are applying, it is so competitive that the percentage though may be still high, and still you may or may not get through. That's the idea. I hope that is helpful. Uh, this is very important, guys. Online GMAT GRE scores are not accepted by ISB or any other top B school these days. IIM,
Yeah.
Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, none of them are
None
accepting.
of them.
They explicitly write it. So don't apply with the online GMAT score. Don't write. If you have given it in the past, reattempt an offline, in-person, center-based GMAT only.
One of our
Then,
students this year, he
hmm,
prepared with us for GMAT. He was not able to get a slot online, so he just randomly thought of taking the exam online. He got a GMAT score of 735. Okay, but he could not apply.
yeah.
So he reattempted GMAT, again got a 735.
Yeah, so be careful in terms of reading all the fine prints of the application.
Yeah.
Divya has asked any of advantage of offline versus online. This is, in terms of selection process, nothing. Your comfort level is what matters. If you are comfortable with an online interview, go for it. If you think that you can make a better presence in an offline interview, go for it. It's more about what you are comfortable with and how you can make a better impression than the selection process itself. I think we have exhausted all the questions. Any last, maybe last one or two questions, if there are any, we can take up. Else, then we can call it a
What is
day.
the latest we can give GMAT GRE program? So if you're applying in the round, you should take it in July or August.
Yeah. So see, advised is that you give it in July or August, because September 14th is a deadline. Technically, you can even give it on, say, 13th or 14th of September and apply the same day, but not recommended at all, because you'll be very, very time crunched. You will be very, very, just dreading ki kya hoga, and may just falter. So, give it in way in advance. Technically, you can give it even on the last day of this submission also. Can I only apply in one round? Yes, you can only apply Apurva in one round of application. You have to choose. There are 3 rounds for BGP program. You, you have to choose and then apply in one only. If you get rejected, then you have to apply next year, essentially. Apeksha, profile evaluation. See, I think here one-on-one evaluation becomes difficult, and therefore we have given a one-on-one link for you to apply, so that we can then at ease schedule a call with you, discuss with you on a one-on-one basis, understand the nuances, and have a longer discussion with each and every candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. I hope this was helpful. Would love to kind of connect with you folks. You can fill the form up. We'll reach out to you. We'll set up the calls. And if you do choose to kind of take the mentorship route with Career Launcher, a lot of candidates come towards my way, and would love to kind of therefore engage with you, mentor you, and take you through the journey of success into ISB or other MBA schools as well.
All right. So I formally conclude the session for today. It has been amazing to get 100 odd students on a Saturday evening. So despite partying, you're actually focused on going ahead with your MBA. That's good to see. And I would like to present my sincere regards to Mr. Venkatesh Chaturvedi, who spared time to share his views and his insights of his journey at ISB. On one profile analysis. Thank you so much for attending. All the best, guys.